Chosen ones, listen. I bring a message that will rattle you awake. Not by chance are you here reading these words now. The Spirit has guided you to this moment because something urgent and holy is stirring, and it needs your immediate, fearless response. This is not idle alarmism. It is a summons to wakefulness and action. An extraordinary, unseen danger is approaching like a fast-moving fog, and it will test every contour of your faith and character. You are not meant to wait with passive hope. You have been called to prepare, to act, and to stand. Hear this plainly. God is urging a radical preparedness, a sacred covering for the soul, because a spiritual and atmospheric miasma is drawing near. It will slip through air and conversation, seeking to unsettle those who are awake to the things of the Spirit. This is not a metaphorical suggestion. It is a solemn directive for survival. You, the chosen, possess a protection not afforded to many, but that protection depends on obedience. The shield is simple yet profound. Cloak your breath with reverent restraint. Guard your tongue with purposeful silence and hold your heart in stillness. Wear this spiritual mask as you would an armor of faith. Put on the whole armor God provides and stand. Be still and know that I am God. Let those words settle like a stone in your spirit. The mask I speak of is not mere cloths. It is a covenant posture, a humble, disciplined barrier that wards your soul against the fog's corrosive reach. Speak sparingly. Silence is not submission to fear, but an act of spiritual sovereignty. When the world clamors and voices multiply, your restraint becomes your fortress. Each careless syllable is a crack in the wall that hands the enemy a foothold. Do not underestimate the power of stillness. Before we travel further into this warning, take a moment to acknowledge your presence here. Press into this community of watchful hearts. Bind yourself to those who are ready. If you are moved, commit outwardly. Like, subscribe, and enter the fold of those who say yes to readiness. Let a simple sign of solidarity mark your commitment. Little acts can anchor big spiritual moves. Comment with the number that resonates with your soul as a token of your pledge. If you truly are among the chosen, your spirit will know this truth and will follow through. If you are not ready, this season will be a hard teacher. If you are, everything will shift. Your life will be reforged. The fog is real. The time to don the spiritual mask is now. Awaken, chosen. 1. A thunderous call echoes from heaven to equip yourself with sacred protection. This is not only about the air you breathe. It is about the armor that shields your inner life. The world stands on a threshold of a spiritual confrontation like nothing before it, and the brightness of your soul makes you a target. If you neglect the call, you risk more than temporary harm. You imperil the flame of your eternal light. Every unguarded breath becomes an open door. Heed this. Mask up now. Imagine your soul without ramparts, a citadel stripped of defenses. That is the peril of neglect. This approaching fog is no ordinary mist. It is a calculating spiritual storm that seeks the awake, those who walk in awareness and bear light. It creeps in silence. It rides on the ordinary breeze. And it finds openings wherever carelessness is allowed. Hesitation will cost dearly. You are chosen not by coincidence, but by divine intent. Your calling is urgent, because you are called to irradiate the darkness. But lights can be snuffed out without protection. Your survival rests in faithful obedience to the decree. This mask is a testament, faith woven into action, discipline made visible, a barrier molded by reverence. It is not a trial run or a polite suggestion. It is a last clarion warning. The fog will slither into the air and hitch itself to words that are spoken without prayer. Guard your speech. Let your lips be measured, your sentences few, your prayers many. Every reckless word is an invitation for harm. Picture a battlefield where your own voice could betray you. That is the landscape you now inhabit. Let silence be your strategic stronghold. The mask for your spirit keeps contamination at bay. Restraining the urge to argue, to justify, or to shout is arduous but necessary. Your future depends on the quietness you cultivate today. Be inwardly firm. Retreat to the deep chambers of prayer. Hold fast to discipline. When the world tempts you to lash out, remember this is the moment you're most vulnerable. God's insistence on silence is not punitive. It is a sacred endowment entrusted to you alone. Receive this final warning as a blessing and a lifeline. The fog is moving, not like natural weather, but like a purposeful spiritual assault. It is invisible to most eyes, yet deadly to those who glow with spiritual life. Unlike common sickness, its weapon is deception, aimed squarely at the spiritually aware, not the spiritually dormant. The air itself can become a portal of confusion. Breathing without mindful protection becomes walking through a hidden minefield of influence. The fog's terror is its stealth and its unpredictability. It drifts in ordinary places, hides in familiar phrases, waits behind the veil of normally to ensnare the unwary. This is no mere test of physical endurance. It is an initiation of the soul. Prepare, for you are its intended mark. Wearing the mask is a divine mandate, an emblem of spiritual readiness, fashioned by God's grace to block the invisible onslaught. Refusal was tantamount to rejecting mercy. The mask quiets the tongue, governs the breath, and fortifies the spirit. In stillness, you become a living prayer. Every fiber of this shield symbolizes your allegiance to survive and to emerge purified. Obedience is now your chief weapon. Place this shield on with reverence. Let it define you as a steward of your own soul. In the days ahead, your tongue will threaten you more than any external adversary. Words heal, but they also wound and can open breaches. Guard them jealously. Each rash phrase is a crack in your spiritual armor. Silence, therefore, becomes sanctified strength. Do not mistake stillness for weakness. The quiet that reverently resists the impulse to reply confounds the enemy and protects your inner light. Breathing must be sacred. Each inhalation without the divine covering risks penetration by the fog. By curbing breath and tongue, you construct an invisible fortress impenetrable to the storm. Stay hush, stay vigilant. Your silence will be your salvation. Curiously, this fog spares those whose spirits are unlit. It hunts the illuminated. The spiritually dead pass untroubled because their inner light is dim. For you, the danger is grave precisely because you shine. The enemy fears what you radiate and aims to extinguish it through invasion via breath and speech. Recognize your awakening as both blessing and burden. Sensitivity increases vulnerability, but it also magnifies the efficacy of the protection if you wear it. This battle is not against flesh and blood, but a cosmic contest between light and shadow, with you at the front line. Plant your feet and mask up. This coming threat defies scientific categorization. It is not a virus limited to biology, but a spiritual tempest that disorients soul and senses. No medical remedy alone can anchor you. This storm slips into thoughts, conversations, prayers, and doubts. Its objective is to sever intimacy with the divine, to blind the faithful, and to scatter the wise. It is a test of inner resolve and fidelity to God's shielding. Imagine a hurricane of spirit, invisible yet catastrophic. Only the mask of faith, silence, and obedience offers refuge. Each conversation, each syllable is weighty now. God warns that careless speech may usher the fog into your heart and community. Hence, silence is service to God and neighbor. Speak rarely and with the utmost spiritual calibration. Let your silence be your prayer, your fortress, your offering. Guard your words as you guard your life, for in this hour they are indistinguishable. This trial will not sear with fire. It will press with hush. Your faith will be honed in the small, quiet victories of self-control. The prophets of old endured seasons of silence and solitude. Your path echoes theirs, unseen refining that births resilience. These are spiritual exercises. Patience becomes muscle. Obedience becomes shield. Faith becomes light. Understand God's commands to mask and be still as invitations to sanctify your spirit. The stillness you bear will become an inner reservoir of power. When the fog lifts, your faith will stand polished and unwavering. Though the fog stretches across nations, its assault is intimate, calibrated to each soul. The global crucible examines individual lights. Envision a vast battlefield of quiet hearts. Yet the deepest battles are fought in private rooms and secret prayers. Your choices carry cosmic significance. Each silent, obedient decision can tilt the unseen conflict. You are not alone, but your responsibility is personal and immediate. This truth makes your mission both urgent and tender. The mask is the frontline defense for your soul and for others. This universal peril demands widespread preparedness, but personal readiness is decisive. God's plea to cover breath and quiet the tongue is an offer of radical transformation. Your obedience unlocks a divine refining process that refigures suffering into sanctity. Like a seed in dark soil, this trial is preparation for bloom. Darkness precedes flowering. Embrace silence and submission, and you become a vessel for God's renewed glory. When the fog recedes, your light will shine more brilliant than before. This is not merely survival. It is an invitation to spiritual awakening whose radiance will draw others toward hope. Even the natural world signals the shift. Unusual animal behavior, especially among sensitive creatures like rabbits, may rise as early alarms. The wild senses subtle currents. Their unease echoes the unrest in the unseen. If creatures tuned to the earth are disturbed, take notice. Such signs should deepen your resolve. Watch for these markers and let them remind you obedience is urgent. As the fog spreads, odd symptoms might surface. Sudden exhaustion, blurred sight, mental fog, or spiritual dullness. These are not necessarily medical alone. but could be the fog's fingerprints. Do not dismiss these as ordinary ailments. They are warnings to retreat into silent faith. When fatigue presses hard, remember that rest with prayer restores. Traditional medicine will not fully address a spiritual invasion. The remedy is spiritual prayer, fasting, quiet, vigil, and disciplined devotion. The fog thrives on deception, seducing minds into treating it as merely physical. Resist that simplification. Embrace spiritual therapies. The fog moves like a thief. It rides the breeze and slips through open conversations. When your spirit prompts you to shelter, do so. Turn your home into a sanctuary, a stronghold where breath is guarded and tongues are hushed. Limit exposure. The fog gains ground in spaces where words and air flow freely. This is not imprisonment. It is wise preservation and preparation for renewal. On the first day of the fog's arrival, you will sense a subtle change in the atmosphere, an odd heaviness, a hush over the world, an anticipatory holding of breath in creation. It will be a faint, uncanny quiet that rests on your chest. Trust that intuition as a divine alarm and prepare fully. Day 1 is a test of awareness. Act on the nudge to mask the spirit and ready your inward life. By day 2, the world will resist with noise, rumors, panic, accusations, and voices aimed at confusion. Your response is clear. Maintain silence. When chaos crescendos, your stillness becomes your testimony and your defense. Arguments and defenses open gateways the fog wants to exploit. Hold your peace and let the silence speak its own prophetic language. Day 3 weighs on the heart. Isolation will press like a heavy hand. But this solitude is not abandonment. It is a sanctified separation to draw you nearer God. Stray comforts fall away, and what remains is a purer faith. In this crucible, the soul is refined. Loneliness becomes invitation to intimacy with the divine. Survive the isolation. Embrace the refining. The interior world becomes a battleground where thoughts vie for authority. Not every impulse is of God. Learn discernment. Test your inner promptings against the truth you have in Scripture and prayer. When confusion arrives, return to steady anchors. Prayer, short scriptures, and simple truths. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Let such phrases steady your heart. Night will not be safe from skirmish. Dreams may grow restless, populated by shadows meant to confuse. Protect your sleep with prayer, dedicating your nights to God and asking for angelic watch. If dreams disturb you, bring them to the light in prayer and seek understanding, not fear. Vigilance by day and prayer by night preserve the soul. Beware the creeping veil of spiritual blindness the fog brings. Wisdom itself may be clouded. Even those seasoned in faith might stumble if they grow lax. Combat this with intentional pursuit of God's clarity through scripture, community, and attentive prayer. Ask for eyes that see in darkness and ears that hear truth above rumors. Your discernment is the compass by which you will navigate. Emotions will be weaponized by the fog. Sudden waves of anger, fear, jealousy, despair. Treat these as the enemy's tactics. Practice emotional stewardship. Pause, breathe, and call on God's peace. Transform fear to faith, anger to patience, and despair to hope. Each small victory over emotional hijack is a triumph in the unseen war. The fog will twist words into weapons. Phrases once innocuous can be used to wound or to frame you. Therefore, choose silence. Let your restraint deny the enemy ammunition and preserve your witness. Speak only when compelled by God. Let silence be loud enough to testify to your faith. As relationships strain and loyalties shift, guard your heart. Some will change under the fog's sway. Compassion and boundary both will be required. Pray for those who falter and protect your spirit from toxicity. In all this, remember that your obedience is an offering. It protects you, it shields others, and it draws down God's refining power. Be relentless in prayer, steadfast in silence, and fearless in faith. The fog will come, and it will test you. But the faithful who put on the spiritual mask, who shelter, who silence, and who keep watch will emerge not merely unscathed, but transformed, brighter, deeper, and more radiant for the world that still needs light. Put on the mask, chosen one. Stand in stillness. Claim the promise that those who hold fast will see deliverance. Let your obedience today be the seed of tomorrow's dawn.